everyone. My name is Prajani Patha, and I'm the chairperson of AAXO, the Association of African Exhibition Organizers. So thank you so much for listening in on our Agile Leadership Series. At AAXO, we're really grateful for the amazing leadership within our industry. And in our efforts to learn, inspire, and support our industry as a whole, we've been getting into the hearts and minds of the leaders in our industry. Now, today I'm joined by Suzette Scheepers, who's the CEO of Messe Meunchen, South Africa. Suzette has an extensive experience in the exhibition and event industry, from product development, customer relationships, and congress and exhibition management. She has also held the role of MD at Paradigm Conferences and Events in South Africa, and before that, as executive manager at the CTICC. Suzette has extensive management experience internationally as well, from the far afield as Argentina, the US, Malawi, UK, and Israel. So thank you so much for bringing your wealth of experience to our discussion today, Suzette. I'm so looking forward to it.
Thank you, Prajani. It's such a pleasure to join you, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure. We are so eager to learn from you. So to kickstart our discussion, I'd like to ask you, I suppose everybody's thought about this, and you may have seen some of our other interviews, and it's interesting to see the differences in leadership style. So how did you and your team quickly evolve the COVID-19 situation? We were all
Sorry. Well, on this one, I can honestly say I'm very proud of the team for their agility in adapting to their working environment from home. I must admit, having our parent company in Germany certainly did make it easier, because we're very used to online meetings. We're used to dealing with teams, etc. So we were very fortunate that our infrastructure has always been in place to work remotely. So it's been a relatively seamless transition for us. But what has been really interesting is to see how people have taken care of each other in this period, and the great initiatives that have come out. I think people have had a little bit more time to actually sit and think, and the team have really surprised me, and I'm incredibly proud of them.
That's awesome. I think that has been most challenging for everybody, trying to adapt to that home environment. And like you're saying, you guys having that experience already of working online a lot with countries abroad, and it's much easier for you to adapt. But still, I think we all miss seeing our team, and you've challenged them, right? I'm sure you have.
Very much so. And I must admit, the first time we came back to the office, there was such great excitement to see each other. And it just once again proves that we are all in this industry to communicate, to see people face to face. And the joy was just unbelievable. And, I do think this time has taught us the value of teams. It's taught us the value of thinking scrums and being together and coming up with new ideas. Being at home is isolated, and I think some people don't do as well in isolation as they do in a team. And for me, my team have been tremendous. There's been no slacking or thinking about, are we dodging off? It's not the nature of the team, but I'm very proud of how they've dealt with the circumstances.
That's awesome. Now, besides the team itself, I know you've all been working very hard behind the scenes. Is there something that has come out of the past 5 months as a team that you're exceptionally proud of because of COVID-19 that drove you into that particular space?
Prajani, I think what I'm proud of in the team is we decided when COVID hit us and we had to go home, is we need to care. So we started a care program with our clients, where I can honestly say there is not a client that Messe Meunchen South Africa has that we have not spoken to on more than one occasion in the past 5 months. And obviously you cannot, in a situation like this, cold call and do a hard sales drive, etc. So we were really interested in what our clients had to say, how their families were doing, how they were doing, how they were coping, what was happening to their businesses, because their longevity is our longevity. And we view them as business partners, and it certainly has paid off for us. And for me, the care program was one of the most important, I would say, achievements that we've had. And I think one of the other things for me was how well the team actually looked after each other. We had coffee breaks together online, we had catch-ups, we had share our day sessions. We did the same with clients. We actually said a day in the life of a client. We had pictures of people sitting with their dogs in front of the fireplace, working on their laptops outside in the garden. It became a social business empathy drive. And for me, that's something that I really will treasure from this period. And it's something we will definitely continue going forward.
So would you say that it actually brought you closer to your clients and your staff?
I think so. I definitely think so. I think we've really had to make the effort to spend the time with our clients, to talk to them, because it's not business as usual, as much as we'd like to think it is. They've had to look at their businesses very closely. We know that our exhibitions are part of the marketing mix. And as we all know, what is the first place that a company cuts is marketing. So it's having that discussion about where we fit in, how do we help them stay visible? Because their visibility is important. And so we also started campaigns, marketing campaigns for our clients to assist them with their visibility. And in the same way, enhancing our visibility. So I think, number one, we got much closer to our clients. And as you know, in this industry, the most important factor for all of us.
Now, how many shows have you cancelled this year or postponed?
We did not cancel any shows this year, but we had to cancel a show for the beginning of next year, which is our air cargo show. Currently, as you know, we still sit in the situation where our borders are closed and therefore no flights. And in order to give the airline industries time to reevaluate their businesses, to reevaluate where they will be going to, we had a number of meetings with the industry and therefore decided it would be prudent to actually cancel our 2021 air cargo, which was supposed to be hosted in February, and we will revert to the 2023 within its time period. For us, because we have air cargo shows across the world, we have one in Miami and we have one in Germany, Munich, and then we have India. We work in a rotation. So to get out of that rotation did not make any economic sense. So we've decided to actually just revert into the 2-year cycle and then go back to 2023.
Interesting and difficult decisions to make at this point.
A very hard decision to make.
And especially when you hear about many of these shows, they've been going for so many years. And it's the first time ever that you're not on and for that time period. And it's weird. It is the most strange feeling ever. So good luck in February.
Thank you very much. It really was a hard one to do. I mean, first of all, it's the conversations that you have to have with the industry, and there's the conversations you have to have with your team, who have then, up until then, really worked hard on a product to make it a success. But unfortunately, as I've said, we have no indication of when our borders are opening up. And in this case, in this instance, in this show, 99% of your clients are foreign and abroad. And I mean, airlines are, every country has one. So I can't have a show with one.
Of course. Now, through this process, right? Let's just look at air cargo in particular. And I know lots of people cancel shows, but I just want to go into it a little bit more. Take me to the process in terms of, so coming to that decision, and then what? You went to your clients first, or did you do research with your clients to assess?
I did it the other way around. Okay. I did it the other way around. We're very close to our it's one show that's slightly different to any other show that you have, is there are only so many airlines in the world and they move around the world to all the shows. Mm-hmm. So those are that's your first stakeholder that you speak to. So we actually spoke to the actual stakeholders across the world before we actually made the decision, based on the fact that sometimes they have more information than we have as organizers. They are, after all, the airline.
That is true. That is true.
So pretty much we started at the other end of the value chain. We started speaking to our clients first. After that, we had our internal meetings, obviously as a board of directors, and from there, we made our decision.
And with regards to the attendees, where did they come in?
The attendees, obviously, we've also all notified. They were the last on the value chain to actually, we did marketing drives and we did information sessions etc. And obviously, because after this we go into a show in Germany, we could already talk about seeing them in Germany next year.
That's a good, that was a good plan. That was helped a lot. And is there
Yes,
any indication of you possibly doing something digitally with that particular industry?
well, in that specific industry, we actually had webinars every week. So we, because it covers such a vast area, I mean, it covers anything from forwarding of medicine, which at this time was quite important. I mean, as you know, PPE distribution across the world, the value chains, the blocks that there were, etc. So, you know, there were so many, drones, what drones did, the last mile deliveries. So it's first of all, a very interesting subject matter, because, you know, once you really start digging, there is so much that is dependent on air cargo. And in this period, so much more that we literally ran webinars every week.
Wow. Now, I know, I mean, from what out of previous discussions, your shows run every other year, most of them, right?
Mine are biannual, and I've got one that's every 3 years.
Okay. So this year, would you have done as many webinars and digital interactions as you have done at this point in time if it wasn't for COVID?
We certainly most probably would have done, I would say, at least one webinar or 2 webinars per show, but definitely not to the degree that we have done now, no. But we all felt, and also our stakeholders felt, that it was important to stay in touch with the market, for people to know that they are still around. And I must admit, our stakeholders have been tremendous for content, for actually guiding the process, for making sure that the topics are relevant. And I think the one thing about a pandemic, the upside of it, was you could discuss topics that are real today. Face issues facing today, not just hypothetical, you know, what would the effect of something be on something. It is really what is happening today and how do we get past it. So from that perspective, I must admit, we've had tremendous cooperation from our exhibitors and our stakeholders.
That's wonderful. Now, any of these changes that you've made or that you've been forced to make or to have presented with great opportunities, of course, and have had great success rate, which is great to hear, would any of these new implementations stay in the years and months to come after we get through this pandemic? Any of those, whether it was with your clients, like with all the digital activations, or things that you've done with your staff and your team in terms of working from home and things like that, will you keep going with any of them?
I think for me, definitely yes. I think as far as communication is concerned and active listening, I think sometimes in the run of year to year, show to show, we literally do that. We move from show to show. And I think once again, we've had the time to take a step back and to actually actively engage with our clients, but listen to what they have to say and actively listen to what they have to say. Not just to present the solution, but to actually hear what it is they want. What are the requirements? What needs to change? What are new angles? And I think with businesses also having worked from home, and in some instances there being more time for people to actually get introspective and reflect, it is amazing what has come out of what they want and how they see the future, etc. And obviously then for us to adapt our programs, products, our offerings in a similar way. And I think that is something that I would really like to retain, is really make sure that we keep that empathy and we listen and we keep the communication channels open, not to be guilty of just running from one show to another with an application form.
Yeah, that is so true. That happens so often. You know, it's all about the next booking, the next event, and it has forced us to look at the moments in between. I cannot agree more with that.
Absolutely.
How has your exhibitors and stakeholders responded to the way in which you've been communicating with them? Have they gotten tired of you because you over communicating or under communicating in any way? What have their feelings been at this point in time?
I think, Prajani, we've really been very careful not to, be part of a deluge of swamping people with stuff and it is of no value.
Mm-hmm.
We have in every instance made sure that it is what is wanted, what is needed, and actually then presented it. I mean, you know, you yourself know there are a dime a dozen webinars around at the moment, and just to be there. That was never our intention. Our intention was to make sure that we fill a need and that that need was requested. So as far as our interaction with our exhibitors have been, it has been tremendous. And that's where it comes back to where I say, if you really ask what people want, you get amazing ideas. And based on the ideas, you are offering exactly what it is where they want to be. We also at the same time actually did some surveys with our exhibitors, but not forgetting the visitor. All organizers and PCOs, and I'm generalizing here, but that is our focus. But our visitor is our focus. What do they want? What are they coming to buy? What are they coming to see? And so we've also actually done extensive surveying and talking to our visitors on what they want. So for me, we've closed the chain, and you know, there's not a loop in the chain, and that was very important. Because as we all know, you can have a fabulous exhibition if you have no feet, your ROI for your exhibitor is not there. So for me, it was very, very important that this time around we also target the visitor. And it then also evokes the reaction from the exhibitor. Well, they're talking to who I want to see. And this is what they're telling me they're saying. So maybe I need to look at how I do things differently. So it has actually been educational, and it's been to the benefit.
Wow. And is there any way through these surveys now that you've done, has it given you any indication of what exhibitors and the visitors are wanting long-term in order for them to get them back on the floor? What will give them that confidence? I mean, the big buzzword now is about building confidence again with our visitors and exhibitors. And we know it's such an unknown factor in so many ways. There's different things that appeal to different people. What has been the feeling with your exhibitors and visitors and with your organization in terms of working towards building that confidence?
Well, it's interesting. If we look on a global level, we have already hosted some of our first live shows, for instance, in China. And to my great surprise, I cannot speak for everybody, but we had tremendous response. In actual fact, our numbers were higher than we had in years before, even higher, should I put it that way. So there is a need in the marketplace for people to meet face to face. You know, they talk about revenge visiting, etc. I'm not that great on buzzwords, but really we've had tremendous response at our China shows. In Germany, we've taken another approach, where we've actually done hybrid events where we've got visitors coming, plus we've got it being broadcast. And in South Africa, what we found is people want exhibitions back. You know, there is no place where you can have 6,000 to 8,000 to 10,000 qualified visitors go past your stand in 4 days. You can have a very, very big sales team. You're not going to achieve that in 2, 3, 4 months. So the need is definitely still there. How we do the product offering is they would like to also academically reach more people. In other words, in your forums, your sessions. So a lot of people have said they would really like that to be broadcast. They'd like to possibly think about hub broadcasting. So if you are doing, let's say, a show in Cape Town, there's no reason why you can't have a training hub in a Joburg center, or you can have a training hub in a Durban center, and have regionalized sessions in the afternoon, but have a global session in the morning. So there are amazing ideas that have come up that people actually would really like and would give them bigger exposure to the market.
Those are very interesting thoughts. It's wonderful to see all the new opportunities that have come up and that we wouldn't have considered even before.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's the one thing this period has taught me is you don't know what you don't know. You know, so it's really good to actually get out there to talk to people. And if you obviously can't see your clients, then do the Zooms and do the Skypes, which we've done, and to actually really hear what the needs are. And there are so many ways around this. Look, we all know that it's very costly to do very big infrastructures for running hybrid events, etc. But I think there's a place for it. But certainly the market has indicated in our instance, that trade fairs is still the go-to place.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Now, what is your take on the new normal? I mean, you touched on the hybrid and the HubSpots, and those sound really exciting. And I think those definitely have their place. Yes, we know, there's lots of protocols and all of those that we're going to have to follow.
Absolutely.
What is your take on the new normal? I hate that word, by the way.
I've tried, you know what, Prajni, I thought about, the new normal. If you and I had the answer to the new normal, I think we'd be very wealthy. But, I think I can just reiterate back is the new normal, I think, needs to be what your client wants, ultimately, because that is why we provide the platform, is for people to present their product to as bigger audience as they possibly can, so that people have the opportunity to get their return on investment, that the buyers can come and actually really see products and new innovations, and that it's worth their while to be there. And I think if we just bear that in mind, I do not believe that necessarily the way we get there is right now, for me, the most important. Yes, like everybody else, we have planned with hybrid events. We have to take COVID into consideration. I mean, we've seen in Europe now that the numbers are going back up. There are countries that are closing down again, which means they may even in Europe go completely online again. I mean, I've seen quite a bit of stuff arrive in my inbox saying, various countries, various presentations all over the world gone back to just purely online. But I think there's a place for it all. And I just think it depends from product to product on how you present it, or whether it is actually suitable to that product.
I love that. I love that, understanding what your client wants, and ensuring that is the new normal. That, because there's something that is so forgotten. We always believe that we try to sell this big concept and failing to understand that might not be what our client wants right now.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think we're all guilty of that. And once again, as I say, the best thing ever about COVID was listen and communicate.
Tell me, the show that you talked about in China, was that a consumer show or a trade show?
Trade fair. It was a trade fair. It was one of our established trade fairs. It's been going for a number of years. And we actually just happened to have a meeting the day of their opening day. And the CEO of China was also online on the meeting, and she was ecstatic that they really had such a good turnout on the first day, which obviously is great for everybody because it's a great example to be able to follow. And it gives all of us hope that are in the industry that, if they've done well and you can see, the numbers are doing well and the feet to the door are doing well, that it's not all doom and gloom.
Yes. And it's good to also see that although China has come back online with such great success and such a large amount of people, the protocols they've followed has ensured that there hasn't been a resurgence of the virus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All the protocols were in place, as is demanded by the World Health Organization and by local government. And it certainly did not restrict anybody from attending a show.
Interesting. And those are the case studies that we need locally here. I think those are the things that we need to look at and work towards, because it gives us hope. And I think for the South African government as well, I think us being able to showcase these case studies shows them that we are actually organized gatherings again and not mass gatherings, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's where we in South Africa need to make the distinction. And that is what they've done in Europe, is make the distinction between a mass gathering and actually a trade fair, where we have all our ducks in a row. We have our checks and balances in place. You know how regulated our industry is. We can track from the moment that you've actually registered to where you move to what you're doing, and all the technology is available. So we are not a mass gathering where people buy a ticket online and they arrive and we have no idea, what the effect is. So I think that really, really needs to be taken in consideration. And what they did in Europe, the government actually made, well, in certain countries in Europe, they made a distinction between mass gatherings and trade fairs. And therefore, trade fairs are allowed to open up in some countries from September and some from October, because it is so regulated and all the checks and balances are in place.
Sure. Lots to think about there. And I mean, there's so much, all of this going on in your head, you know, keeping up with what.
And I also think that is why, sorry to interrupt, and I think that is also why it's so important for all industry players to continue communicating, PCO, you know, the various stakeholders in the industry, because there is so much that we can actually bring to the table. And when we can bring case studies to the table, we can say what is being done in other countries. You know, if there are countries that are a little bit ahead of us right now, yes, they started their curve before us, etc. But the bottom line is none of us stopped working during this pandemic. All the planning was being done, taking into consideration what the effect of COVID is and what it is we need to do, because we all know it affects our shows. There is a wealth of information that can be shared.
Yeah. And I mean, you've been touching base, keeping your team locally, making sure that all the industry sectors you delve into as an organization is sorted, plus dealing with your company internationally, you know, keeping abreast of what they're doing. So much going on, but yet you still look so cool, calm and collected. How are you looking after yourself on a personal level?
I must admit, I am so fortunate to have a very good, what shall I call it, family structure. You know, we all have those days, or we all had those days. I can speak for myself during the past 5 months, whereas can this please just be over now? You know, and then I do get the pat on the back, and I do get told that, you know, life will be better tomorrow. And the moment we actually got to be able to go back to moving freely, you know, outside and be outside in nature, I had my 2 dogs under my arm and I was back in the veld. And I was walking, because there's nothing that nurtures the soul like space and freedom.
That so true, so true. And
I also play musical instruments. I think my piano has never been played as much as in the last 5 months.
Wow. We're discovering some new talents here, Suzette. That's great. That's great. I'm gonna have to come and visit, because I love this.
Definitely, you're welcome.
Over and above all of this, what advice would you give to other leaders in our industry and our industry at large at this point in time?
You know, Prajani, I don't think I'd like to give advice. I actually have a request.
Yeah.
Is during the past 5 months as an industry, we've really for the first time communicated with each other without barriers. We've shared information. We have spoken openly. And I think that has strengthened the industry. I think going forward, let's not lose that. Let's keep communicating.
So true. That is so true. I think I was saying to somebody else, you know, we've never collaborated like this ever before. I mean, we've always operated in silos, unfortunately. And
absolutely,
COVID has just forced us to communicate, collaborate, connect so much more than ever before. And I'm absolutely loving it. And I hope that all the listeners are loving it as well, listening to all of you and getting a chance to hear you, you know, because they don't get to hear you as Suzette, you know, as a leader of your company. And it's been such an honor and such a privilege to speak to all the leaders in our industry. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Prajani, you just cut out for about 5 seconds there.
Okay, am I back?
You might want to repeat that last, okay, or make that thing again.
I say it's been an absolute amazing journey to just listen to all the leaders in our industry, to get them to share. We've never been able to collaborate to this degree, and to listen to people like yourself, who we don't normally get a chance to listen to. That's really been awesome. It's been such a privilege and such an honor to listen to all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's been such a pleasure to chat to you. And I'm looking forward to the next edition.
Suzette, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. In the many roles you have held, I do believe that your experience will be immensely valuable right now to many of the people that are listening and all the members of our industry. So to all of you who have been listening in, Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your support. And be sure to catch the rest of our Agile Leadership Series in the weeks to come, as we will continue to interview the many leaders of our industry who we hope will inspire, support, and motivate you in your journey ahead. I'm Progeny Patha, Chairperson of AAXO.